Now, at this show, we spent the last 3 years debunking the evidence-free red-baiting conspiracy theory known as Russiagate, right? And it got so bad, the coverage of it was so bad on YouTube and in the mainstream press that a former host at MSNBC, Crystal Ball, did a whole video where she likened MSNBC to InfoWars. So we debunked those conspiracy theories, but if you would like to go find crazy bullshit conspiracy theories, you should go to MSNBC because Joe Scarborough blames this on Russia.
Oh, my gosh.
Did you see this, Ron? Did I send this to you?
Oh, yes. Tell Joe not quick enough. Jimmy, I snuck into prison disguised as singing Telegram. Then I got in. Before you could say borscht, it was over. Then I got back on my meme jet, was back in California by 12:30. Then Steph texted me, and I said, yes, I come in for stream. Heard it here first. Good job, Joe.
You're not completely a maniac. This is the natural conclusion to the 3 years of every time anything in Russia. So this is it. A guy who had information that would have destroyed rich and powerful men's lives ends up dead in his jail cell. How predictably Russian. I know. America doesn't do anything. What the? This is so... It happened in American jail. It didn't happen in a Russian jail. It happened in our jail. Did Putin sneak in? Like, this is how nuts your brain gets. That's how nuts your brain gets. And people were giving him the business about, hey, did Russia kill that intern who found dead in your people?
Max Blumenthal.
People were really giving it to him hard. Ken Norton.
Yeah.
Or Ben Norton. Ken Norton. Yeah, they were really giving it to him.
Well, I like the people that defended him. Did you see some of the people that defended him? They were like,
No.
He wasn't saying that Russians did it. He was just saying that happens in Russia a bunch. Like, oh, okay, well, that totally
I mean, the thing that
changes it.
happens here?
Yeah, right? Like, it doesn't happen here. Or substitute Russian and just put anything else in there, and that's not, like, really wrong.
Yeah. How Italian. Just put Italian.
Yeah, how Italian, how Mexican, how Chinese, whatever. Whatever you want to throw in there.
How German. I think you could still rip. Can you still rip on the Germans for the Holocaust? I think people still do. I think people still rip on Germans. I think it's still okay to rip on. I'm pretty sure because people say stuff like, remember that joke about it started when who was that guy? Buchanan, Pat Buchanan gave a speech. You're too young to know this, Ron. But he gave a speech at the 1992 Republican convention where he pronounced that there's a culture war. And then the joke going around was, yeah, I liked his speech in the original German. And then people were starting, I heard people apply that to Trump. They're doing that same joke with him. Oh, I liked it in the original German. So I think it's still okay to shit on German. I think it's still okay. I think that's, I mean, I see certainly the double standard there. Isn't that funny? I just realized that as we're doing the show that it is okay to be to do that to Germans still. I guess, you do a Holocaust, it sticks. I got to tell you, it really sticks.
Yeah.
But Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, nah. All right, so here is there's Joe Scarborough. I mean that's a guy. He hosts a news show for 15 hours a week on MSNBC. Or do they do 4 hours now? I know they were 3 hours. Did they go to 4?
Morning Joe.
Morning Joe.
I thought it was a 2-hour-a-day thing. Is it not?
Remember the joke we used to do was that, that progressive news station that likes to kick off their broadcasting day with 3 hours of conservative talk?
Yeah, however long the show is, it's too long. I know that much. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's the guy. That's not some guy in his garage on YouTube. This is the guy who's a host of a national television show on MSNBC owned by Comcast. The people who fire you for telling the truth about Russiagate or they don't even bring anyone on who has a counter narrative to that. That's how you know they're doing good news over at MSNBC. They're so much better than Fox and CNN. You know, MSNBC, they're doing such good journalism. They have no interest in doing journalism. None. They brought on no one. They brought on no one ever to counter this. So people were literally defending this?
Yeah,
Ron? I didn't see that.
Like basically just saying like, no, he's not making up some theory. He's just being xenophobic. Come on. What's the problem? He's fine.
He's just saying we don't like Russians, right? Russians are jerks, right? Everything bad ever. Here's how MSNBC covered it recently, just now, a couple minutes ago, about, so, you know, the questions are, how does this guy get let alone in his cell? And believe me, he didn't get left alone in his cell. If he was, and that's how this happened, he committed suicide. He didn't get left alone in his cell accidentally. That's for goddamn sure that didn't happen.
No, I was telling you, Jimmy, that it reminded me of the scene from The Godfather.
Yes.
When
at the hospital.
At the hospital, like, where are the police? Oh, there are no police here?
What about
How'd that happen?
We're getting him out of here. Get him out of here. They're coming to kill him. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, that's what this is. So, in the event that Jeffrey Epstein actually did attach something around his own neck and hang himself, why was he taken off suicide? That wasn't an accident, because he wasn't accidentally taken off suicide
That's
watch.
the first question that makes absolutely, like, it makes no sense. Why was he taken off suicide watch?
And why was he given instruments that he could hang himself with?
Yeah.
So this isn't an accident. I mean, just as a cursory look, not an accident. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, totally. And have we found out anything about what camera footage may or may not be available?
Right.
Because that's like, I mean, you know, I was scrolling for that, you know, an hour and a half ago before, you know, I was at a park, and then I went home, showered, came here. But it's like, what footage may or may not exist?
So here's how they talked about it.
Are we expecting any public statements from the people who ran this jail as to how on earth this person was alone, allegedly, and was able to either remove himself or be removed from the scope of justice, you know, by leaving this world? Like, is there going to be a public statement? Are you expecting anything today?
No, there will be a public statement, I'm told. I don't think it's going to answer all the questions you have. I think it's probably going to be very basic in nature, given what we saw after the previous incident. They did not say much except to confirm that something had taken place. There's an incredible photo on the New York Post website right now that shows Epstein being wheeled in by paramedics this morning, and they're working hard to try to revive him as he's wheeled into the downtown hospital, where he was pronounced dead about 7:39 this morning. Again, he was found around 6:30 this morning. We are told now from 5 sources he was alone in his cell, and that suicide appears to be the leading cause here. But of course, as you're hearing, there will be an investigation. In the previous incident, there was less clarity, in part because he shared a cell with a roommate. And the defense lawyer for that other inmate had said the two were getting along fine, no assault took place, and that Epstein apparently had tried to take his own life in that previous incident. How serious an attempt that was, there's a lot of debate and question about that, whether it was just a cry out for attention. Again, we are told from multiple sources he was having a very difficult time inside the MCC. He's an accused child sex offender. He is accustomed to the life of luxury with his mansions, and now he's sitting in the MCC, which is a very secure facility where drug dealers, terrorists, you name it, are held in that facility. He was put in a separate wing for, high-risk inmates. First, he had a roommate. Then, after that initial incident, he was moved to his own cell and, for a time, was on suicide watch. We only have one official, but it's a good one official telling us he was recently taken off suicide watch, but remained in an isolated cell. We're waiting to hear clarity on that detail from the Bureau of Prisons to see exactly when and if he was taken off suicide watch and what that meant for the items and clothing he had in his own cell. Because if you're on suicide watch, we're told there are no sheets, there are no blankets, that you are watched watched quite carefully. But of course, we also hear stories about people who are on suicide watch and in isolation, and they wind up using their pants or whatever minimal clothing they are provided. So the question is, how closely was he being watched? Is the expectation?
I'm guessing not very closely. The question is, how closely was it? The question was, he wasn't being watched. What do you mean, how
and
closely?
why is that?
This entire segment that they just did on MSNBC could have been summed up in like 2 sentences.
Yes.
Like Joy Reid could have just been like, so the people that were there that might have something to answer to, are we going to hear from them? Do they owe us anything?
Yeah.
And then that other dude could have said, we'll probably hear from them. It'll likely be bullshit. All right, a word from our sponsors.
You know, I
It could have been the whole thing.
was watching somebody today, and they were saying, you know, like, I think that these, you know, at the very least, these prison guards should be fired and management should be fired. And I kept thinking to myself, like, really? Because we know what authority prison guards have if the powers want them to off somebody, right? Like, seriously. That's who you're concerned about. And then, you know, I'm sitting here watching this, and anything's possible. Is he really dead?
Oh, is he even dead?
I bet you every girl that accused him wants to go and see that dead body.
Oh, he's not. They're gonna give him like that new face, like in Face Off, where he gets someone else's face, and then he goes and lives in Australia or something, and maybe you guys will see him. If you see a guy who looks like Nicolas Cage, but like he just had surgery.
Stitches.
Wasn't that what Face Off was? They had switched faces.
Yeah, and then they had like the longest fight scene ever. Where they both would have died like 12 times.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Good cinema, though.
I like
cool
how
movie.
I like how people can like punch each other in the face, and first of all, no teeth out, nobody barely gets like a cut. Like that's not how fights work. Guys' faces split open. Anyway, so there. By the way, I just wanted to remind everybody that there was a comedian who predicted this.
God damn, huh? Speaking of Jeffrey Epstein. You know, of course, Bill Clinton said he was only on the Lolita Express 4 times. Turns out he was actually on it 24 times. And Hillary Clinton is actually upset about it. She actually tweeted out just now, that she feels really bad about Jeffrey Epstein committing suicide next Tuesday.
Our next live Jimmy Dore show is August 24th in Denver, Colorado. Then we're going to San Francisco, Seattle, Baltimore, and Honolulu for Christmas. Go to jimmydoorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets. And if you'd like to support the show, that's how we do this. Become a premium member or a patron. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Thanks for your support.